there, and thank you for watching. This is another My Thoughts On episode. This is the Student Theologian. Today I have a couple of subjects that I want to talk about, just like I do every single week. It's going to focus on geopolitics, a little bit of theology, and some life updates from me. So first I want to start off with some life updates. My membership in Hunsinger Lane Baptist Church will officially begin next month. There was a situation that arose last month that kind of delayed my membership, and it kind of leads me to the first subject I want to talk about. And it's how should Christians behave on social media? And I realized that I don't do a perfect job of that, of representing Christ in a perfect way on social media, just like I don't do a perfect job of doing that in real life. Made an insensitive joke that the church brought up, that the elders of the church brought up, and I took it down, and we moved past that. So yeah, I'm under the realization, under the conviction from God that I should be more careful about what I post on social media and what I talk about in real life as well, because it's one thing to post a crude joke or say a crude joke, and it's also another thing to laugh at a crude joke. The Bible is very clear that we shouldn't use foul language and crude jokes, and we shouldn't find humor in it either. So that's some of the things I'm wrestling with. But I am going to become a member of the Hunsinger Lane Baptist Church next month. I'm going to start a reading program over a great book with one of my friends at that church. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be good to finally be plugged into a faithful church that holds me accountable, that preaches the truth. So I'm excited for that. I'll start my summer class next month as well on the 2nd. So it's going to be a very busy couple of weeks for me. I'm going to have to get my testimony out to the church in the next membership meeting in hopes that they'll nominate me. But I'm under the impression that it's just a formality at this point. Okay. Still reading through the Old Testament. I've got done reading with Samuel. I just got done reading with 1 Kings. Now I'm going to be on 2 Kings starting tomorrow. And it's been a good realization to see how mightily and how quickly Israel falls, how all their kings continue to sin in rebellion, and it always goes back to idol worship when it comes to the sins of the Israelites, and it makes us the reader reevaluate our lives and see the kind of idols that we have in our own lives that we need to get rid of. Baal worship, idol worship drove all the other sins that Israel had committed in that time. Just got done reading about Ahab and Jezebel, how Jezebel, being a bad wife, being an unfaithful, ungodly wife, drove Ahab to making a bunch of evil decisions when it comes to idol worship, pursuing God's prophets. So you can see how a bad wife equates to a bad life, and why it's so important for us to choose the right wife, a godly woman. And that, I think, Ahab's account is a great example of what not to do as a man. So I need to keep that in mind as well as I continue to pursue a wife. Now that's a little bit of theology and my life updates. Plan to do some more reading soon. I haven't had the time or energy. I've been really sick this last last couple of days for some reason. Um, had one of my cousins pass away this week in a motorcycle accident. So please pray for their family. It's a tough situation, but I'm under the impression that she was a believer. So we know that that as believers, that our time here, well, as humans, our time on earth is short. But as believers, we know that we're going to a better place. And that we need to focus on the eternal rather than the temporary. Okay. So with that in mind, I want to shift now to our geopolitics section of the video. And there's a couple of topics I want to talk about today. And the first question that I have is Trump shifting the world's alliance system? More specifically, is he reshaping the way America is aligned with the world powers? Is Trump shifting the world order? I think he is to an extent. He has all these tariffs. He's announcing tariffs that he's going to put on the EU starting next month. So the EU, especially the left-wing governments in the EU, with especially England and France, they're definitely not happy about this. And the rest of Europe is not happy about America's decision to pull out of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, with Trump recently coming to terms with the fact that, hey, this isn't our war. We're not going to be involved one way or the other. And Trump has come under fire from Russia's President Vladimir Putin as well, over some criticism that Trump has done against him, accusing Putin of not wanting peace. I think Trump's policies are smart. I think he should be compelling both leaders of Ukraine and Russia to seek a peace agreement. But we are under no obligation to interfere, whether by sending arms or equipment or money to either side. This is a war that does not involve us, and I think Europe should be able to take care of themselves. Speaking of Europe, they need to do a better job at closing their own borders, securing their own countries than they are doing right now. Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, has promised to close the borders, to get rid of all these illegal immigrants, to stop this Islamization of, well, he doesn't call it Islamization, but he's going to promise to end the mass immigration. And so far, this is all talk. This is what Starmer does. He tries to appeal to both parties, and he makes all these promises that he does not keep. And it's actually making his polls dwindle even lower, since he doesn't appeal to the left or the right, since no one trusts him. The only way Starmer won the election was because basically the UK right essentially split themselves into two different factions, between Reform UK, which is the more right-wing faction, and the Tories, who have been very moderate over the recent years. I think Reform UK has potential, but they need to get on board with the Islamization of the West, of England. And they need to stop trying to pretend like Islam is compatible with British values, because it's not. So I think that while the Reform UK movement has potential, they need a more conservative, more far-right leader than Nigel Farage. I hope they get that. I don't know why I went on a tangent talking about British politics. But back to the original question, is Trump reshaping the world order? And I think he is. Another example we have of that is the rumors going on about Israel's relationship with the United States. There's rumors that this relationship is straining under recent months and weeks, with rumors that Trump is going to recognize Palestine, that Trump has called Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, arrogant. And I could see this being the case. Nothing official has come out when it comes to this, but we do know that America has negotiated without Israel's help the release of several different Hamas hostages. The fact that we're doing this without consulting with Israel just shows that we're heading towards a more isolationist approach towards foreign policy. Not isolationist as in we isolate ourselves from the rest of the world, but rather we forego trying to police the world and start building a foreign policy that benefits us, the Americans. Another example of this is how Trump has gotten another American prisoner free from Russia. So I think Trump is not the one to be bullied by either Israel or by Vladimir Putin of Russia or Zelensky of Ukraine or the EU. And I think that's one of the major issues that the globalist elites have with Donald Trump is the fact that he won't be bullied, that he won't be dragged along. And whether you agree with him or disagree with some of his policies, like I do, you have to admit that Trump is not the one to be dragged along. Trump is himself. He is unapologetically himself. And he's going to pursue policies that he thinks is going to benefit Americans first. And I hope to see this vision continue with the next presidency. In 2028, I hope that J.D. Vance wins. I'm not on board with Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy, who's not even a Christian. But I am on board with someone like Ron DeSantis or J.D. Vance. We've long needed an anti-establishment populist to take control of the American system. But it's too long have we gone out after this globalist vision? How long have we been subservient to the European Union and to the whims of the globalist elites, especially Israel? Israel, who has lobbyist groups like AIPAC and all these Republicans, GOPs, people under their thumbs. It's good for us to finally have a president that's not going to be under their ruling thumbs, that's going to say no to Israel. Now, ideologically, I'm more closely aligned with Thomas Massie, who, just like Donald Trump, he's not going to be the one who's going to be dragged along or who's going to be controlled by Israeli lobbyists. Now, Thomas Massie and Donald Trump are having this ongoing dispute over the deficit, over the big, glorious bill that Donald Trump has passed. And when it comes to Trump's bill, I think a lot of it is good, but some of it is bad about how it handles the deficit. I agree with cutting the sex change operations, the transgender policies should be cut by the government. We shouldn't be funding that type of stuff. I haven't read the complete bill, but I think I agree with a lot of it. The cuts to Medicaid, as from what I understand, it's not actually cutting Medicaid from people who need it. It's cutting Medicaid from people who abuse it. I think that's the overall goal between Donald Trump and Elon Musk with the Doge cuts. They're not trying to cut off welfare from people who actually need it. They're trying to cut off people who abuse it. It's a tall order because every single situation is different. All humans are going to try to take advantage wherever they can. And maybe when it comes to the economy, we should be pretty small government and pretty laissez-faire when it comes to that. And maybe that's why Thomas Massie is such a good politician, because he realized that. Now, as we've seen, another situation has arisen in the news lately. A pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine supporter has shot and killed two Messianic Jews. I think it was in New York, or one of the states in the New England area. Some Messianic Jews are people who profess Christ, but who follow all the other Jewish customs and laws. Certainly, I have a lot of theological disagreements with them. I never advocate violence against someone. especially point blank murder. Um, and it's kind of ironic for the left to call people like me, who are not Zionist, they call people like me a Nazi while they cheer on pro-Palestine murderers who shoot up Jews. Um, just because I don't think that Israel should have so much control over the government and finance doesn't mean I advocate for murder. And the left, in their usual form, is in many instances cheering on this murder or justifying it, saying, "Well, look at all the people that the Jews are killing in Palestine and Israel." In their eyes, a tooth is an eye. An eye should be taken for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. It's a very relentless, very ruthless type of ideology that's been that's been growing within the left ever since the election of last year. And this is a prediction I made after the election. I didn't go off a crazy prediction and say that there was going to be a civil war, but I did predict that the left would become more violent. What we need to realize is that the left right now is a mortally wounded animal that's cusping for air. And just like a fatally shot animal, it's going to lash out violently at everyone and anyone it can sink its teeth into. They support killers like Carmelo, the guy who stabbed the other kid in heart over an incident. They cheered on Luigi Manzione. I don't know if I pronounced that name right, but the left cheered him on because he killed a CEO and a husband and a father. So the left openly cheers for violence, for murder, because they have witnessed the downfall of their ideology. They're witnessing right now the downfall of their stranglehold that they have over society. Trump is pulling funds from all these liberal universities. The woke Hollywood is getting less woke as more and more films release. Mel Gibson is going back into Hollywood. So cancel culture is not working nearly as effectively as it did before. People are not afraid to say things and do things that offend the left. And the left, as they witness their stranglehold on society crumble, they're lashing out, they're angry. And this could turn into a civil war or an attempted revolution within the next few years, especially if J.D. Vance wins in 2028, which is right now my prediction. So I think J.D. Vance or another Trump-like Republican is going to win in 2028. And the left will realize that, hey, Trump is not an anomaly. Our ideology is actually on the downfall. And once the left does that, they're not going to shrink back and say, maybe we do need to become more moderate. They're going to lash out even further because they have no true foundations for love. I mean, think about it. The left operates on nihilism, on moral subjectivity. They don't believe that there isn't a absolute truth out there. And they're very authoritarian in nature. They're criticizing Trump for being an authoritarian right now, but when the left was in power, they used all the might that they have in society to crush anyone who disagreed with them. They used universities to cancel people. They canceled Hollywood actors and actresses like Gina Carano who disagreed with them. Now the pendulum is actually swinging on the opposite end. Now whenever the cancel culture tries to act, we are fighting back and seeing that their attempts at cancellation does not work. So the left is that wounded animal. And I think that as they die, they're going to lash out at more and more violence because they realize they can't win in any other way. Their ideology is crumbling. Their stranglehold on society is falling away because the people are simply not buying into the liberal, neoliberal establishment anymore. People are fed up with the society. They're fed up with a system that tells them they can and cannot do something. So that's all I had for today. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. Until next time, this has been the Student Theologian.